First of all, I'd like to congratulate Scott and Kendra. Who somehow managed to find each other in this crazy world. It's like finding a needle in a haystack, except the needle is extremely good looking, and the haystack is filled with a lot of people that think Netflix and chill is still a legitimate date. So congratulations, Scott and Kendra. For those of you that don't, that know Scott and know our family, Scott loves boats, we love being on the water. We always have. As you've heard, Scott and Kendra's first date was down on the boat, and still to this day, going down onto the boat, grabbing some takeout, and playing board games is still one of their go-to dates. Another fun fact that many of you might not know about Scott is Scott actually has his captain's license. So for the remainder of the evening, feel free to call Scott Captain Scott. So, one thing though that every captain, every boat needs is a refuge, a safe harbor. I wasn't gonna do this. Scott's found his safe harbor in Kendra. Kendra, you're the perfect match for my brother. Not only do you make him incredibly happy, but you also have the patience of a saint. Anyone who can put up with his obsession of ranch dressing in Texas Pete, you deserve a medal. In all seriousness though, seeing the love and the joy that you two share is truly inspiring. Your relationship is a beautiful reminder that love is about finding someone who accepts you for who you are, quirks and all. And trust me, Scott has plenty of quirks. So, here's to love, laughter, and a lifetime of happiness. May your days be filled with joy, your nights with laughter, and your pantry always stocked with Texas Pete and ranch dressing, just in case. And as my daughters, Maddie and Lily, would say, congratulations, Uncle Scotter and Aunt Kiki. Cheers.
I can do it. I got it. Hello, everyone. My name is Maggie, and I am one of Kendra's matrons of honors and best friend. Kendra and I met at our college orientation. We were signing up for classes, and she was there with her dad, and I was there with my parents. And I took the seat open next to her. Her dad, Mark, had her whole schedule printed out. He knew all the classes she needed to take. Meanwhile, my parents and I were lucky that the computer was already turned on. And it's obvious that we need help. So Mark offers to help me sign up for classes. Thank you, Mark. And he signs me up for all the same classes that Kendra's taking. Including 8 a.m. statistics. Thank you, Mark. Yeah. Kendra and I quickly became best friends. We had breakfast dates together every morning, and we would ride around with the windows down and the music up loud. And our favorite thing to do on the weekends would go out dancing. And our favorite place was Coyote Joe's. And we would dance until the lights came on at 2 a.m. But for the past 10 years, Kendra and I have done everything together. We both graduated from UNCC. Then she went on to earn her master's. We were out celebrating her birthday the night I met my husband. She stood by me at my wedding, and today I got to return the favor. I made her an aunt. And she was one of the first people to find out that I was going to have a baby. And Scott was there too. I remember the first time I met Scott. I've never seen Kendra happier than the moment she introduced me to Scott. I knew he was the one for her. I'll never forget that he opened every door for her. Every door. Yeah. Every door. The car door, the restaurant door, the grocery store door. And I'm never gonna let my husband forget it either. Yeah. Scott, you are a true gentleman, and you are a man of God. You have a warmth about you that makes meeting you for the first time feel like I've known you for years. And this is the same way Kendra makes others feel. Kendra brings sunshine to all those around her. And when I think of Kendra, I think of Proverbs 31, verses 25 through 30. She is clothed with strength and dignity. She can laugh at the days to come. She speaks with wisdom, and faithful instruction is on her tongue. She watches over the affairs of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. Her children arise and call her blessed. Her husband also, and he praises her. Many women do noble things, but you surpass them all. Charm is deceitful and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Kendra shows God's love through the kindness she shows others every day, whether it be to her clients, her friends, or the stranger who sat next to her at college orientation. While some may think the open chair is a coincidence, I know that God left that chair open for me. I'm gonna cry. Kendra, it has been my greatest joy growing up with you. And now it is a true pleasure to watch you grow old with Scott. It was an honor standing beside you today, and I will continue to stand beside you for all the days to come. I love you, Kendra Cat. Who's next?
Love that song. Good evening, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, I am Michael. I am the brother of the bride, Kendra. I love you so much. This event was very personal for me, but in order to understand why, I shall first take you back to November 12th, 1996, the day I became the older brother to my forever best friend. Very early on in our childhood, my mom and dad realized how different my sister and I were. My mom loves to tell the story of us in a shopping mall, and I am running straight ahead with all my might, not even looking back, probably around the corner, and my sister takes a couple of steps forward just to stop and look back for mom and dad. And at that point in time, my mom and dad were like, we should put him on a child leash law. But they didn't exist in the 90s, but I bet you I would have been in one if that was the case. My fondest memories were growing up playing in the bonus room, and I would build these Lincoln log houses, and we would play together, and I would enhance these houses so massively and make them so beautiful and give my sister a little shack with a beat-up Toyota. And Kendra would throw a temper tantrum, and she would run to her room crying and slam her door. And I would literally take the pieces that I built her house from, and I would enhance my own house. I used it as the garage. It was fantastic. I was really great. And so after a while, I got bored because I was playing by myself. And I said, you know what? I should probably go apologize. So I'd walk down the hallway, I'd knock on the door, and I said, Kendra, I'm so sorry. I was an amazing contractor and architect, but I will agree to build you a better house if you come play with me and give you nicer cars. And she said, okay. And if you know Kendra, you know she's always willing to forgive and to make some kind of amends. And that's one thing I've always loved about her, is that she's always willing to work things out. This event, like I said, became very personal for me. And Scott, you have been absolutely incredible since the day that we met you in our family. And I'll get to that later. But first thing, our sibling rivalry about sister, me and my sister. She decided to become a little tattletale. Way back when, my mom and dad told us that we could not go play in a creek across our creek, or in Harrisburg, there was a creek across our creek. And my sister was not allowed to go play there. And I said, Kendra, if we don't tell our babysitter that we're going to go play there, can we just go next door to the trampoline and tell them that's where we're going? Well, Kendra got super wet, and we were playing. You fell in. Yeah, you did. You fell into the creek. Not my fault. And I said, don't worry, I've got this down pat. Don't tell mom and dad. Do not tell our parents. Whatever you do, don't tell them that we went to go play in the woods. And she said, okay, I got it. I said, okay, you keep to that. The second mom and dad got home, she started crying. She looked up and said, we went and played in the creek. I said, okay, good backup is initiated. And she tattletaled on me. But I think that the favorite memory that I have is us driving to high school together. And we used to listen to country music because that was the only thing on in the morning without commercials, if you know that, because we weren't doing the rose ceremony or anything like that on K-Love. But we listened to country music driving to high school, and my favorite game was how freaked out would Kendra get if we were late. Because I didn't mind being a few minutes late for the tardy tail, and she panicked. And if you know her, her academics are the most important thing to her. She is like very, very keen on that. And so that was my favorite game growing up in high school, was seeing how flustered she would get, even if she was late by a few moments. But there's a poem that I found that I think best describes my relationship with my sister. And I'm going to read it to you now. It's by Scott Lewis. It's titled Holes. I had been in that hole for a very long time, in the dark and in the damp, and in the cold and the slime. The shaft was above me, I could see it quite clear, but there's no way I could ever reach it from here, nor could I remember the world way up there. So I lost all my hope and gave into despair. I knew nothing but darkness, the floor and the walls. Then off in the distance, I heard Kendra call. Get up, get ready, there's nothing the matter. Take rocks and old sticks and build up a fine ladder. This had never occurred to me, had never crossed my mind. But I started to stack all the stones I could find. When I ran out of stones, then old sticks were my goal. For one way or another, I'd get out of that hole. So soon I had a ladder that was sturdy and tall, and I thought, I'll soon leave this place once and for all. I climbed up my ladder. It was no easy chore, for from lifting these boulders, my shoulders were sore. I climbed up on the ladder, but soon had to stop, for my ladder stopped short, some 10 feet from the top. I climbed back down my ladder and started to cry. I'd done all I could do. I gave my best try. And in spite of my work, in this hole, I must die. And all I could do was sit and think, why? Was my ladder too short, or my hole much too deep? Then from way up above, a different voice, do not weep. The faith, hope, and love entered my chest as the voice said to me that I had done my best. He said, you've worked very hard and your labor's been tough, but the ladder you've built is at last tall enough. Do not despair, you have reason to hope. Just climb down your ladder, I'll throw down my rope. I climbed up the ladder, then climbed up the cord. When I got to the top, there stood the Lord. I couldn't be happier. My struggle was done. I blinked in the brightness that came from the sun. I fell to the ground, his feet did I kiss. I cried, what can I do to repay thee for this? Then he looked all around. There were holes in the ground. They had people inside and were seen all around. There were thousands of holes that were damp, dark, and deep. The Lord turned to me and said, feed my sheep. Then he went on his way to help other lost souls, and I got right to work, calling down to the holes, get up, get ready, there's nothing the matter. Take rocks and old sticks and build up a fine ladder. I now knew it was my turn to spread the good word, the most glorious message that ever had been heard, that there is one who is willing to save one and all, and we've got to be ready when he gives the call. He'll pull out all of the whole that we're saved and all of our souls from death and from sin. So do not lose faith. There is reason to hope. Just build up your ladder. He'll throw down his rope. Kendra, my beautiful sister, thank you for always pulling me out of those dark holes. And when I said this event was very overwhelmingly personal for me in our life, Scott, that is where I directed to you, my new brother. From the moment I met you, I knew that you had a special connection with my sister, and I truly mean that. And in college, I was going through a very, very difficult time, and I started working on my relationship with God, but I also started praying that a man would come into my life, or Kendra's like, that a man would come into my sister's life who is truly a man and not a boy. And you have fit in so perfectly to our family. And I couldn't begin to tell you how much I appreciate you as a man for how much you love my sister. And that is the most important thing, is how you love her. And I greatly, greatly appreciate you and our family's lives, and we are so excited to welcome you into that. So my wish for you both is that your love story would become a consistent choice in your life. Choose loving each other, even when things seem uncertain, when you both don't know the answer, pray about it, and never forget, this is your first time in life, so enjoy the ride. And Scott, I hope you have as much fun growing old with her as I did growing up with her. So here's to love and making the most out of every situation with your chosen best friend and soulmate. I love you forever and always, dork. Cheers to Mr. and Mrs. Spencer. Thank you.
All right, I've never used a microphone, so I hope this is working. Hi, I'm Alana. I'm fortunate enough to be one of Kendra's matrons of honor. And to start off with a fun fact, me and Scott met for the first time in person yesterday. So that's what happens when you live 3,000 miles away from your best friend for far too long. Now, when I would tell people about this wedding and where I was going this weekend, people would ask me, oh my gosh, you've never met him. Does that make you nervous? Your best friend marrying someone that you don't know. And I had an instant reaction every time. I didn't have to think about it. And my answer was no, I'm not nervous. Because before I met Scott, I knew him. I knew he had become a personified home for Kendra. He had become her safe place, someone she could turn to when she needed comfort or when she needed care. He gave her security, and because of that safety that he brought to her relationship, that smile that we all love to see was a little brighter and lasted just a little bit longer. And he was the reason for that smile. I knew he had become her stability. When Kendra struggled, he was there to lift her up and keep her standing. When she had to make difficult choices, he leveled her and gave her far better advice than I ever could, which I'm not happy about. When she needed someone to hold on to, he was always there for her. And lastly, I knew he had become her best friend, which of course was the hardest part for me. I saw how he matched her own special kind of weird, and if you've met them both, you know two kinds of that weird in the same room is a lot. But he mirrored her quirks and allowed Kendra to be herself fully. I remember the first time she told me that he was her best friend, And I knew in that moment, oh God, he's not going anywhere. And today, this is hard. Scott, I pass that title to you. I hope you do it better than I ever could. And Scott, it takes a really special person to make me trust them with someone as important to me as Kendra. And you have done that without me ever having to meet you. So thank you for taking care of her, for loving her, and for being exactly what I would ever hope for her. I hope that you guys have a life full of love, happiness, and tons of opportunities to take those jumping photos you love so much. Cheers to you both. I love you, and come to Tampa.
All right, I was sitting there. I did not like the fact that I had to go last. Everybody had their speeches, I guess, pre-planned on their phones. So I would like to thank ChatGPT for this best man speech. No, but I did do a little Googling beforehand, right, to be ready. And what I was reading was that, the most important thing is to get up there and to sing praises about the couple, and just to tell really good things about the groom. Well, unfortunately, I can't sing, and I refuse to lie, so I'll just bore you with a few more stories. It was kind of funny during the ceremony as I was there with Scott, and we were going in and standing there and watching Scott and Kendra make their vows. I was tearing up, and I had to tell myself that I didn't cry at my own wedding, and if my wife sees me crying, she's gonna kill me. And I was the middle brother. I had a lot to fight for my whole life. It seems like I still am fighting at times. Me and Scott definitely fought probably the hardest. PlayStation controllers were broken over knees, raw pine cones thrown at faces, you name it. I mean, we broke furniture. I'm not sure what we didn't do, what we didn't break, what we didn't tear up. But as we got into adulthood or grew older, whichever that was, I think Scott and I realized maybe how similar we were, and the bond that we had somehow just grew super strong, and he's just been a different brother to me than what I grew up with. And I've spent hours on the phone with Scott, and I just don't think he knows how much I look to him for counsel sometimes. And I know that rock that he is for me, he is for so many other people, but especially he's going to be for Kendra. And I just think both of you are the luckiest people in the world. We did start off a little disgruntled this year and this wedding. Scott couldn't come hunting this year. And I even pitched a hunting moon idea, which didn't fly. But I'm just super happy for Scott and Kendra. Kendra has just fit in so well with our family. We have such a good time together. Tonight is about y'all, and we're going to party our asses off. Here's to Scott and Kendra.